Welcome to Strip Cover Lit, where we squeeze the bigger picture of literature. I'm Adrian Fort, and we're here for the fifth in a 138-part series as we journey poem by poem through You Get So Alone at Times That It Just Makes Sense. You get so alone at times that what just makes sense? Well, if you have to ask, you'll never know. This poem, the fifth poem, being Beasts Bounding Through Time. And it reads as such. Van Gogh writing his brother for paints. Hemingway testing his shotgun. Celine going broke as a doctor of medicine. The impossibility of being human. Villon expelled from Paris for being a thief. Faulkner drunk in the gutters of his town. The impossibility of being human. Burroughs killing his wife with a gun. Mailer stabbing his. The impossibility of being human. Maupassant going mad in a rowboat. Dostoevsky lined up against a wall to be shot. Crane off the back of a boat into the propeller. The impossibility. Sylvia with her head in the oven like a baked potato. Harry Crosby leaping into that black sun. Lorca murdered in the road by the Spanish troops. The impossibility. Artaud sitting on a madhouse bench. Chatterton drinking rat poison. Shakespeare, a plagiarist. Beethoven with a horn stuck to his head against deafness. The impossibility. The impossibility. Nietzsche, gone totally mad. The impossibility of being human. All too human. This breathing in and out, out and in. These punks, these cowards, these champions, these mad dogs of glory, moving this little bit of light towards us, impossibly. And I will be contrasting this poem against one from Emily Dickinson. In her collected poems, number 214, it is I Taste a Liquor Never Brewed. I taste a liquor never brewed from tankards scooped in pearl. Not all the vats upon the Rhine yield such an alcohol. Inebriate of air am I, and debauchee of dew, reeling through endless summer days from inns of molten blue. When landlords turn the drunken bee out of the foxglove's door, when butterflies renounce their drams, I shall but drink more, till seraphs swing their snowy hats, and saints to windows run, to see the little tippler leaning against the sun. Both of these poems seem to be communicating to me the line between genius and madness might be no line at all. In both of these poems, we get the hollers echoed resoundingly of Icarus. Emily Dickinson pulls a Walt Whitman and says, hey, baby, right here, I'm the genius. Lay it on me. Lay it on me. I'm the drunken bee. Look at me. Whereas Bukowski doesn't want the attention, perhaps does not want the blame, does not want the responsibility of pulling us closer to the light impossibly. Emily Dickinson gives us tankards scooped in pearl, gives us vats upon the Rhine, a tippler leaning against the sun. Beautiful things, exotic places, things which stretch the imagination in their very diction. Whereas Bukowski presents this genius/madness conundrum with Hemingway's shotgun, with Nietzsche's madness, with Sylvia Plath's oven. All of these things which were that beckon call over the edge, which were the downside of the genius. Dostoevsky lined up ready to be shot. Whereas Emily Dickinson had given us those things which we might look at and want to aspire to, Bukowski is giving us the downside, Bukowski is reminding us of the consequence. Not the merit, but the consequence. Dickinson likens this sensation of genius to drunkenness. When the drunken bee is inebriate of air itself. And again, that tippler leaning against the sun. In Dickinson, this genius, so a lot of interpretations of this poem simply reduce it, I think, to being a poem about how wonderful is nature. I think that's too on the nose. I think that this is a poem about that conundrum of genius and madness. I think that this is a poem about being different, not simply loving nature, but being different and recognizing that difference. Bukowski, in his rendition of this same or similar message, says that genius, whereas Emily Dickinson said that it was a sensation like drunkenness, like a profound drunkenness, Bukowski is saying that genius lies in the recognition of the impossibility of being human. So Dickinson says that the genius is able to recognize the difference from others. Bukowski says the flaw to that genius is the recognition of the impossibility of being human. So you split the difference and it becomes how one deals with how one is able to deal with the inevitable pain of being human. The inevitable pain, who was it? Was it Camus who said, or Sartre, who said that there is one actual question remaining, and it is the question of suicide? So I wish I could remember exactly who it was so I could attribute the quote. But basically, I wish I could remember the actual quote. But basically, there is only one question left to answer. There is only one serious conundrum left, and it is the question of suicide. Why go on with it? And many of the examples that Bukowski cites, they don't, or they find their way into something just bad enough to be killed. Whereas with Dickinson, the consequence of death is one that is waiting for everyone anyway. So you may as well accept it. You don't have to force its hand, but you may as well accept it. In Bukowski's voice, we're not willing to give that admission. Like a couple episodes ago, we talked about basically treating death like the popo, and you're running from it. And you might take the right corner this time and get passed on by, but he's still looking for you. In Dickinson, this genius is bliss. This genius is ignorant bliss, and it's the others who suffer and have to deal with the drunkard. It is the saints who to their windows run to see the little tippler leaning against the sun. In Bukowski, it is, again, an external loci of control. The genius is pushing others towards the light and suffering anyway. So what is there to be taken about Bukowski from this coupling of poems, from this coupling of messages? Whereas Dickinson is able to concede that genius and madness are the same thing and waller about in all of it, Bukowski is more apt to recognize that genius and madness are the same things and say, hey, it's not just the end that comes, it's the suffering. A lot of the examples that Bukowski provides went ahead and preempted the suffering part. So that question, that still remaining question of suicide for Bukowski, is a very real one, because the suffering is very real. And that is one of the things. So you get so alone at times that it just makes sense. This is one of those times where, for Bukowski, that being alone is linked to genius, that being alone is linked to creativity, that being alone is linked to being different. Those differences, genius, creativity, is linked to suffering. Hemingway said that there is, I can't remember the exact quote. Again, I'm blanking on exact quotes, but something like, happiness is the least common trait among all of the intelligent people he knows. Bukowski is willing to concede that point. Bukowski is willing to say, yeah, that's probably right. Emily Dickinson is saying that this genius is to be reveled in. Let the other people suffer. Dress in white, baby, stay in the attic. Let them say what they're going to say. Let them do what they're going to do. Bukowski, while he is not willing to say, well, we need to listen to society, he's willing to recognize the suffering brought on by the world. So that's it. That's all I've got for this episode. I hope to have you back next time for the Bukowski poem Trash Can Lives. As we journey, again, poem by poem through You Get So Alone at Times That It Just Makes Sense by Charles Bukowski, in a series called Alone with Bukowski, where we are comparing and contrasting his poetry to another poem with a similar message. So, if you liked this video and you like Bukowski, maybe hit the like button because it really helps me out on the channel. Hit subscribe if you want to make sure that I pop up in your recommended feed. And if you want to help me grow here on Strip Cover Lit, share this poem with someone who is a Bukowski fan, is a Dickinson fan, or just likes talking poetry in general. And I hope to see you back next time.